Welcome everyone, welcome to Christina Bagni. We're here to celebrate her new book, My Only Real Friend is the Easter Bunny at the Mall. Yay! Yay! What a crazy great title for such a funny, smart book. It's written in a young, up-to-date voice that I could usually understand, except the computer game parts like that. The rest of it I can understand. Her main character, Mo, who's Maureen, has been taught to shoplift by her mother, who was overdosed. Her father is the head of security at the local mall where she is shoplifting. She is gay, but she hasn't come out yet. So you're very glad that she's seeing a therapist?
Yeah.
She really needs a therapist. Christina writes about some quirky personalities, like the unexpected man who's the Easter Bunny at the mall. She works as a photographer and cashier for the Easter Bunny operation, and she needs to accompany the bunny through the mall on his break so he doesn't take off his head or start smoking and startle the children. It's very funny, and the Easter Bunny is a character too. I became engaged with her cast of characters and wish them all well. The pace of the book doesn't lag. The dialogue, especially Mo's internal dialogue, is so funny. I love that part of it, and very funny and honest, and it carries you along. She has a lot of mishaps along the way, and so does the Easter Bunny. So it's quite a ride. Christina is the chief editor at Wandering Words Media and a writer on the Captain Bitcoin comic book series. She loves mythology, rock climbing, buying too many books to ever actually read. We all understand that. That's our obsession too. And writing the kind of queer-led stories she wished that she had as a teenager. So join me in welcoming Christina Bagni.
Hey. Hi, yes, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, Andover Bookstore. And yeah, this is very exciting. I tell the story a lot. I started writing when I was 12 and my dad was watching Fantastic Four, and I thought it was very bad. I was like, this is boring and I could write it better than this. And so I went downstairs and I took a yellow legal pad, I owe you one, and wrote 15 pages of a superhero story. And by the time it was time for dinner, my mom was like, time for dinner. And I was like, Mom, I'm writing a book, can I publish it? And she said, how about you finish it first? So here we are, I've done it. Yeah. So this was a pandemic project. I started it, I figured I got 2 weeks off of work, I'll write an outline. Yeah, and, I got, long time, longer than that, and so I wrote the whole draft and then again got it through here. If you have one already, you can see on the cover, there's an Easter egg, obviously, but there's also a secret detail Easter egg. You can see a tattoo in the sleeve of the bunny. And that is one of the first things that we're going to see in the sample I'm going to read for you, because this is a book about lots of things. It's about secrets, it's about friendship, and it's about connecting with people, but mostly it is about mental health and mental health awareness. I had one of my reviewers call it a love letter to therapy, and I definitely agree with that. The whole book takes place as letters to the character's therapist, and I did that because I realized that in a lot of books, people end going to therapy and it's kind of just all right, you're done, like you went through something difficult, now we're gonna fix it, you're in therapy and everything's great. And that is not really how it works. So I thought that I would show more realistic side of things and how it's a process and you work through and change over time and can have some fun along the way. So we are going to look at chapter 4. It's called The Man Behind the Bunny Mask. This is the first time that our character meets the Easter Bunny and sees the tattoos that he's hiding behind the mask. All right. So I think I formally met Billy 3 days in. It was definitely a Wednesday, which I knew because I was coming in to see you, my therapist, after work, which was only really important because it meant I was leaving work early to get to you on time. I was working the register my whole shift that day. Max showed me how to ring people out too and how to frame the photos. There were a bunch of tiny little egg frames that people usually bought to put the wallet sizes in. They were pretty small, pretty cute. They could fit right in my vest pocket, hypothetically. Max said I should take my break when Billy does now instead of going separately. The bunny apparently needed an escort because they were afraid of potentially getting sued should the bunny do something so un-bunny-like it scars some little kid for life, like taking off the head or smoking in the bunny suit, which, funny enough, were the first things Billy did when he and I finally got to Max's office. He pulled off the paws one after the other, gripped that heavy head by the neck, and yanked it off so hard and violently it might have scarred even me. He was turned away from me, but I saw him scratch the back of his shaved head. God, it's sweaty in there. There was a tattoo on the back of his neck, and when he looked down, I could see it was of a woman in a fancy ball gown and masquerade mask, just chilling on a love seat, throwing a handful of playing cards up in the air and laughing. It was kind of neat. He was digging around in his folded up jacket, and I was getting ready to leave, but then he stood up straight, a pack of cigarettes and a lighter in his hand. You mind? I didn't answer, but not because I minded, because I'd seen his face for the first time, and it was covered with tattoos. It was really well done. He had 2 devil horns on his forehead, a big capital H on his chin, and dark shadowing around his eyes and on his nose, temples, and cheeks to make him look like a skull. He reminded me of Day of the Dead parades. No, I don't mind, I mumbled. He nodded, popped one into his mouth, and plopped down in Max's office chair. I told myself to stop staring, but I couldn't. They looked awesome. How often do you see a gangster in an Easter Bunny suit? I'm not in a gang, Billy said suddenly, like he'd read my mind. I looked away. So you don't have to be afraid of me. I'm not afraid of you. I think your tattoos look cool. I tried to make the pitch of my voice low enough to be taken seriously. I still kind of sounded like a little kid sometimes. Billy smirked, snapped his thumb against the plastic yellow lighter, and breathed the flame into his cigarette. Well, glad someone does. They're actually why I'm here. The few grand I get from being a bunny is going right into tattoo removal. Wait, he's getting paid thousands? It costs that much? I asked instead. You're probably wondering why I'm writing out this entire boring conversation. I guess I don't really know either. I guess I just want to remember him as much as I can. He breathed out a smooth line of smoke. Cheaper to cover it up, but that kind of misses the point. I smiled. He smiled. Are you getting rid of all of them? No, just the ones on my face. I like a lot of my other ones, not that you can see any right now. I've got a mermaid here. He ran a hand up his side, then across his chest. Some planets and a copy of my grandmother's rosary. I like them. I've gotten some dumb ones covered up. This real stupid one of Daffy Duck smoking a blunt. I got turned into a pirate ship. I like that. But the face ones, they can go. Well, I see why, I said, but they look cool to me. I'm just tired of everyone being afraid of me, he said. If those moms knew I looked like this, I can guarantee you they wouldn't plop their kids on my lap. He seemed nice, maybe mid-30s, though it was hard to gauge with the tattoos. I shuffled a little, took a little half step toward the stool I had sat on during my interview, then chickened out and just kind of sank into one hip. Can you spare one? He didn't make a big deal of it, just held out the pack. I considered trying to tap it out the way they do on TV, where just one cigarette shimmies out, but I figured I'd just manage to shake all the cigarettes onto the floor if I even attempted to look cool, so I just pulled one loose. I glanced surreptitiously at the one between his lips. Okay. The brown part goes in your mouth, okay. I could never remember which way was right. He handed me his yellow lighter. So, where are you running off to? Big Wednesday night party? No. Sports? Therapy, I said. I kind of wanted to shock him, make him uncomfortable. I don't know why. I think I mostly just wanted to seem damaged or hardcore, like, yeah, I've been through some dark shit, I'm in therapy, and I'm so confident in myself, I don't mind admitting it to basically a stranger. He nodded, leaned back in Max's chair. His bunny body looked pantsless when Billy crossed his ankle over his knee. He considered me with a brow furrowed in approval. You know, that's great, he said, pointing his cigarette at me like a mobster. I love how you younger kids are destigmatizing mental health issues. I snorted, my eyes wide, and his eyes widened in earnestness. Seriously, I wouldn't be comfortable just telling somebody I went to therapy. Now maybe, not 10 years ago when I was supposed to be in high school. Oh, thanks. I smoked faster. I didn't feel like talking about generational differences of mental health beliefs with a man in a bunny suit. And then she does exactly that for 200 pages. copies up there. I can sign them if you want to bring them up, and I've also got candy. And in the eggs are also QR codes, so there's places where you can leave reviews if the mood strikes you, or buy an ebook copy if you want that as well. But
will you take questions?
oh yes, sure, yeah. Okay.
Where did you come up with the idea for the story?
Sure. Well, my partner at the time was working at a Christmas set a few years ago, and had elves. And I got to go in at one point and go back and see the backstage Santa and all the Santa costumes. And the person who was the manager, I was talking with him for a little while, and he's based, the character Max is based off this person, just this like very kind and charismatic but also greasy used car salesman kind of guy. And he said, yeah, you know, Santa has to look like Santa, but nobody sees the Easter Bunny. And he admitted that a lot of the Easter bunnies that they hire have face tattoos, because it's hard to get a job if you have face tattoos. And you know, to be the Easter Bunny, you have to work all day for 3 months straight and then not again. So they hire a lot of people with face tattoos to be Easter bunnies, and I thought that was hilarious, and I just had to follow through and see what else this character was up to.
Will there be a sequel?
No.
Thank you.
I gotta say, I wanted to hear the therapist side.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see her side. Maybe. Yes.
Are you working on anything else?
Yes. I finished a book that is a modern feminist retelling of Medusa, and I'm pitching that out now, trying to get that out there. So hopefully that'll be my next endeavor. But yeah, it's exciting times.
What made you decide on writing the book as letters?
Oh, what did make me decide on writing the book as letters? I think that I found it interesting to think about how she would frame the story if she knew somebody else was listening, as opposed to other first-person novels, which are just kind of like speaking into the void in a way. Like first-person narrators are not aware of the fact that they're telling a story a lot of the time, but in this one she's very aware of the audience and who the audience is as her therapist, and she's trying to tell the truth for the first time in her life, and she's been hiding a lot of everything from her therapist, and so she's trying to be honest, she's still not great at it, she's new at it, and I thought that would be an interesting voice to explore.
She's writing, tell her where she's writing from.
She is writing from prison. Yeah, the title of the first chapter is Bet You Didn't Think It Would End With Me Getting Arrested. Yeah.
Were you considering how, like, addressing where you're the therapist as you might, like, color the audience reading it as being like, oh, I'm her therapist now?
Yes. And I did get some direct rejections for this book because of that. I thought it was important, and so I kind of kept pushing for it. But yes, at first it might take a few steps to get into it, but I think, there's lots of books that are in the form of letters. Perks of Being a Wallflower, which was an inspiration, is also in the form of letters. Sometimes you kind of forget that as you're reading, but I think it comes in enough that hopefully we won't get too confused.
I like it. Being like, okay, this is my child. I'm with her.
Stepping into that role. Yeah.
So Christina, when you and your sister were tiny, a couple years old, we went to the Santa parade, and in Billerica Common at the end of the parade, Minnie Mouse took her head off, and it was a man, and Marissa screamed and cried and was terrified. Do you remember that at all? And
I
does
guess-
that have anything to do with?
I guess it's my internal trauma just coming out.
Terrifying.
Yeah, no, I don't remember that consciously.
You know what your next therapy session will
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about it, we're the therapists.
You are. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be scary, you know, especially for kids who really do believe that this is the Easter Bunny. And suddenly it's like, no, not even close.
It's
Worst
true.
nightmare.
When do you write?
A lot of writers have a set schedule, and I really don't, which not the most helpful piece of advice. Just kind of whenever I have time. I'm lucky to work at home, so I'll be able to, like, you know, take breaks from work if I'm getting overwhelmed with work, and like write for a little, gets my head back in the right headspace. And then sometimes I wake up early when I'm doing good. I'll get up early and then write for an hour before work. Yeah, whenever I can find the time.
Was there anything that you really wanted in the book that you had to take out?
Yeah, so she is a shoplifter, and at the beginning, I did research, not like, I didn't shoplift. Like, how do they do it? How, like, I wanted to make it realistic, and so I had, like, Mo teaching the reader how to shoplift, and the publisher was like, maybe don't teach children how to shoplift. And I was like, all right, I mean, I guess I didn't see that. So we cut out, like, her top 5 rules of shoplifting. She still does kind of walk you through it a little bit, but it's a little less like, here's how, like, step 1. So, yeah, it's understandable. Oh, and the prison thing is an add-on. It's a late addition, actually. She didn't initially get arrested. So that was in the rounds of editing with my publisher. They suggested, hey, like, you might not like this idea. Don't be mad at me. Like a page long of preamble. But what if she gets arrested? And I was like, yeah, that certainly adds something. Thought about it, and it's a genius move, and I think it really just adds a little bit of spice that it needed. So, yeah.
And then it's obvious why she has to write to her therapist.
Yeah, the motivations become a lot more clear with that. So, really a helpful hint. Get an editor.
Well, actually, on that note, as like a process question, did you find yourself having to like let go of your editing instincts, let somebody else take over, or like how much did that color the editing process?
Yeah, well, I have a great writing group. A lot of people here have read my book before, and they had just like invaluable insights that were really helpful, and that helped a lot, because even as an editor, it's hard to look at things from a distance. I saw just like, they would say things that were just like, oh my gosh, like why, how did I not think of that? So that is extremely helpful. And yeah, sometimes I get caught up in like, you know, taking a break from writing to research, like, should I use an Oxford comma? But I try to get out of that, so. Yeah.
How much ends up on the cutting room floor of what when you say you sit down and write for an hour?
Mm-hmm.
How much of that actually ends up in, and how much of it goes, now I'm gonna have to rewrite that, or?
A lot. Mo was initially a like 14-year-old boy. That changed. Like huge portions of it. Like the book I'm working on now, Medusa, has gone through like literally 4 rewrites, and it's not even out yet. And it's gonna have to go through editing, and a lot more is gonna change there. Stephen King has this thing where he says that 20% of a book should go out every round. And I think that's a little extreme, but sometimes that happens. Sometimes, you know, you think of an idea and you're mad at yourself because it's so good, but you know it's going to take so much work. But you do it anyway.
What was like the path, I guess, to take you to, because I know that you told me that you published it through D Plots YA, and what was the process for that, I guess? Because like, say if I wanted to get something published
Hypothetically.
hypothetically through that publisher, like what would be like the best course of action, I guess?
They have something on their website outlining what they like, but I sent it to them. They asked for the whole book outright. A lot of them don't do that, but they did. And like a couple months later, they were like, hey, like, we all read your book and we love it, and we would like to offer you a contract. And that was after I think 55 rejections, so it was a welcome acceptance, and that does not mean that it's bad. That's actually pretty par for the course. It's really hard to get in there. Agents and publishers only want to sell a book if they know that they can make money with it. It's a business, so you're going to get a lot of rejections, especially if you're new, because you don't have an audience yet. No one knows your books yet, so they took a chance on me, which is great. Thank you, Deep Hearts YA. Yeah.
On that theme, I'm thinking about, for the bookstore, having a panel at some time in the future where we bring in authors who've kind of done this themselves successfully,
Yeah.
to talk to people about their, what they went through, how many rejections they did, and how to navigate that whole. Would you be interested in being on that panel?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
of
then the
course.
second thing, just in that vein, is Amazon has a publishing arm now, which
Mhm.
kind of creates space in KDP, and those are the only books that like an independent bookstore like ours would not
Yeah.
accept in the publishing. So we were so happy when we saw that yours was like,
Yeah.
avoided the big A.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I mean, like, my goal was to get it in little indie bookstores like this, because these are my favorite places to be. So, anything that can support little places like this is.
And thank you for choosing to do this here today.
Thanks for having me.
I mean, it's such a win for our bookstore to get people in like this, and it's just been an honor to have you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And my books are up there. Other books are here. Look around. I have candy. So.
Most people want Christina to sign their books. I
Yes.
imagine. So we'll move chairs out of the way so people can move around. We'll leave a couple out for people to sit, but we'll make some space.